All right, so here we have an example quilt bucket that is fairly empty. What we're going to try to show here is Nextflow pushing a quilt package into this quilt, this bucket listed in quilt. The breakdown of this command, we're running Nextflow run is the run command in Nextflow. We're pulling a pipeline from NF-Core, and we're asking it to use some demo input data, that's this profile test, running on Docker containers. We're pulling in the plugin for NF-Quilt that allows Nextflow to push quilt packages right into your quilt repository. And we're setting our out directory. Instead of just including an S3 bucket, we can create a versioned data product, a quilt package, by using this quilt plus URI. And so we have the bucket name as well as the package name, including the namespace and then the actual package itself. The requirements to get this running are to have Quilt installed. So we can find our Quilt installation and make sure that it's configured. You can see this is being pointed to this demo stack that I have running over here on the right. And without further ado, that's really all that should be needed to get this to run. Let's give this a quick whirl. So you'll see Nextflow start to run through its paces. And because this is running locally on a T3 AWS instance, it will take a little bit longer than it would on a properly sized instance that is meant to do this work, or if you're using batch or other tools, that much faster. It's important to note you could use Nextflow Tower to do this work as well. So we're showing this through the command line. You certainly don't have to do it through the command line. You can use Nextflow, the Nextflow enterprise product, NF Tower, to do this work in a much more elegant way. And you can see Nextflow is preparing to run all of the, it's preparing all of the pieces that it needs to be able to run. And importantly, you can see that this outdir is pointed at this quilt URI. You can use a quilt URI as both your input and your output. In this example, we're just using it for the output, but in production, we often see people use quilt URIs for both the input and the output for ultimate repeatability. You can see all the different processes inside of this Nextflow pipeline starting to spool up, pull their Docker containers, and prepare for running. And this will take a second here to go through all of the steps. What we're expecting on the on the output side, over here on the right-hand side of my screen, is a file called a quilt package called test-package that has all of the data that comes out of this pipeline. In this example, we're not doing anything to the output data. Once it comes out of the quilt, so the Nextflow pipeline, we're just bundling all of that data and pushing it into a quilt package. But you're more than welcome to customize that to suit your individual needs, as far as what data you want to keep, what data you want to throw away. Certainly, you can cull or curate that data to your heart's content. We'll give it a second here to continue running. And there we go, just like that. We are fully complete. And with that, we expect to see a quilt package over here on the right. Let's do a refresh. And there we are. There's our package updated 15 seconds ago. Let's see what it's got inside of it. So this is a lot of kind of automated messaging that includes information about the commands used to create this package, as well as all of the parameters involved in setting up this Nextflow run, information about Quilt and the URI pushed, data about the workflow and the operating environment, and our local workflow set up on this bucket. You can see all of the data that came out of that run, and then a whole bunch of information about the processes that came out of that pipeline. Now, in a typical pipeline, you would have much more human-friendly data coming out of the back. We don't curate the way that these pipeline organizers establish their Nextflow pipelines. So the multi-QC report that we typically see at the top of the quilt package is buried a little bit below in a folder. But certainly you can refer to this in a quilt summarize file to pull this out onto the top of your package. Cool, so I hope that gives you enough to get started using the NF-Quilt plugin with Quilt and Nextflow.